Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, a hot show on tap for today. As always, Scott Craigie's got the rundown.
Well, gaming, of course, is the big horse in Nevada's economy, and we've got Bill Bible here, president of the Nevada Resort Association, to talk about lobbying and the gaming industry.
And plus on the Power Pundit panel today, Michael Hackett, Peter Krueger, and Bill Uffelman. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
High-tech companies demand perfect world amenities. They require clean, reliable power, state-of-the-art fiber optic communications, and clean water sources. In a perfect world, companies would have immediate access to rail and interstate freeways. There would be 4-lane expressways that shorten shipping times and provide convenient commute routes for valued employees. Well, the future is now, and it's here. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
Coverage of Nevada Newsmakers from the state legislature in Carson City is brought to you by the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is a special edition of Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are very proud to welcome to the program today Bill Bible, who's the head of the Nevada Resort Association and a long time involved in government in the Silver State, and pleasure to have you here.
Glad to be here, Sam.
There's a new lobbying group for smaller casinos that has come up and has been lobbying here at the legislature in this session. How are they interacting with the Nevada Resort Association?
We've had a lot of discussions with them. As you know, they have a proposal to change the revenue structures that relates to gaming taxation. So we've had a number of discussions with them about those proposals. But this is going to be a very tough year for revenue reductions. And so it's something we'll be talking about with them, I believe, over the coming biennium.
And when you say revenue reductions in terms of the state?
That'd be correct. That'd be correct. They're essentially, their proposal is to change the tiers or the brackets by which the gaming tax is levied, which would cause a revenue reduction to properties. And the state is not in a position now, at least in my opinion, and I've been told by a number of people in the halls, that that will probably not get processed this year, but in the event it doesn't, we'll be talking about it over the coming biennium.
One of the really innovative things that you guys have done this year is to put this coalition together, this health coalition together with the unions that have their groups in some of your casinos and the casinos themselves, working to cut costs and improve some of the benefits. What inspired that? Is it a long-term plan? You're using your lobbyists to do a lot of the work with theirs. It probably creates a better feeling of community with everyone that's in the gaming industry.
Well, Scott, it's not new. We've had a coalition in the past with the Culinary Union on a variety of issues that affect not only Nevada but affect the industry on a national basis. A couple of years ago, we participated with them very actively on processing some very needed changes to the dental board legislation to increase the number of dentists because we were concerned about the number of providers, principally in Southern Nevada.
Yes, I remember seeing that campaign.
Yeah, and so what you're seeing now is really an evolutionary development of that coalition that was formed.
Is there some concern that, with the strength that you have in numbers, that it might become dominant over, well, you had the hospitals, for example, during this last run, on the run. Are you getting some of that in the building? Are you hearing that from some of the other groups?
Well, there's always that concern, but the purpose of coalitions really is to process legislation that the coalition determines is helpful, and like in the dental bill where we're interested in increasing access to dentists throughout Nevada, this would increase the availability of health care costs for not only our members but the general population.
The close work with the unions, you've got at least one non-union member. Are there any problems there with?
Well, there have been some frictions, but that tends to get mitigated as we approach these kind of issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that brings up an interesting point. With these giant mergers going on, MGM Mirage had pulled out of the Nevada Resort Association.
That's correct. But
they have now taken over Mandalay Bay. Mm-hmm. And the president of Circus attended one of your meetings recently. Is there a chance that MGM may come back into the fold?
I think there is a chance, and I'm hopeful that they do come back or retain the membership through Mandalay. I've been told they're at least participating on a financial basis and keeping the Mandalay dues current. They're going to come to our meetings now also in Southern Nevada as well as Northern Nevada, so I'm hopeful that over time they would retain that membership. I think that's helpful to the industry.
Now, when Las Vegas is open as well, will Steve Wynn join the NRA?
Scott, they've indicated they're going to, but I've been too busy, and I know Mr. Wynn has been too busy really to sit down and discuss the issue, but is intend to do so next month after the legislative process, and maybe after some of his time demands diminish a little bit.
The Harrah's merger is moving towards completion here at the early part of June. What do you think about these giant mergers? Is it consolidating too much power into one company's hands, or do you think it's good for the industry?
I think it's inevitable for the industry, and I don't think it's bad for the industry. It's the same has occurred in other industries. You see it in the airline industry, in the telecommunication industry. You just saw Kmart's acquisition of Sears, and so it's kind of an evolutionary development in business generally. It's a way to increase shareholder value because you get some synergies as you bring two companies together that do produce results at the bottom line level and will increase value at the shareholder level.
Both of these mergers, the Mandalay Bay Group merger with MGM and what happened with Caesars being bought out, both of these have been approved. Obviously, everyone checked the market impact to see that nobody would have dominance. And so we're through those. But how will we know when enough is enough? How will we know when there's too much concentration, where it's not good for the state, not good for the industry? What are those standards by which we measure when we've gone too far?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head where you said everybody's looked at this. The federal government extensively reviewed the transaction that has been approved to date, the MGM Mirage Mandalay transaction, and Mr. Lanny, in testimony to this legislative body, indicated that they generated just millions and millions and millions of bytes of data that were reviewed not only by the federal government but by state authorities. And so, everybody takes a look at these things and grows comfortable with them. You will find that in Nevada, the gaming industry is probably the most competitive industry of any locality where gaming is approved in the nation. In most other jurisdictions, you tend to have monopolistic type licensing structures. Illinois, for instance, only has 11 licenses. You look at Macau has 3 licenses, and so they tend to be more monopolistic. But Nevada has just fierce competition.
When does it become, just on a follow-up there, when does the policy side, rather than the economic dominance, when does do one or two companies become so large, so strong, that they dominate the political landscape and eclipse everybody else? How do we have that review of what the impact is of these mergers done?
Well, the political question is a question that really has been debated ever since you and I were doing poli-sci, and the chairman of General Motors shows up at the U.S. Congress and says, you know, what's good for General Motors is good for the country, and I think that's been part of the policy debate for forever. I personally don't see that as being a problem, as long as you have a number of players, and the players tend sometimes not to operate in concert. As you know, the industries from time to time is divided on industry.
Middleton might disagree on something?
You know, not only is the competition fierce in the economic arena, but it's also fierce in the political arena. And as long as it is that fierce in both arenas, both the public policy in terms of government and governmental decision making and policy at the consumer level is not going to be affected.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back with Bill Bible and a lot more from the Nevada Resort Association here at the legislature.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation here with Bill Bible, who's the head of the Nevada Resort Association. You used to head up the Gaming Control Board, and now I understand that you have some concerns that the Gaming Control Board is not going through with the new technology and testing it fast enough that the Indian casinos are getting newer equipment faster than we are in Nevada, and that's putting us into an anti-competitive situation. Would that be accurate?
I think your description is accurate. What has happened is, as gaming has spread throughout the United States, a number of jurisdictions don't have the same rigorous testing procedures that we have here in Nevada. And so sometimes you see the new technology deployed in locations other than Nevada. It's not been approved in Nevada, and obviously it puts Nevada at a somewhat competitive disadvantage. Now, we had a number of discussions with the board prior to this legislative session about increasing their manpower. They did come to the Interim Finance Committee, which is the committee that handles fiscal issues between legislative sessions, and secure some additional manpower. Hopefully they will now be able to keep pace, but there may always be somewhat of a lag because you just simply don't have this equipment tested in the same manner in other jurisdictions that it is here. But interestingly enough, you ask a technology question. This legislature is in the process now of approving legislation that would allow the deployment of handheld devices in Nevada casinos. That was extensively discussed yesterday in the Wall Street Journal. Very novel concept, a cutting-edge concept. The legislation is enabling legislation, so the state will have to become comfortable that this technology works, that it's appropriate, that it does what it says it's going to do, and it does not create problems. Once we go through that process, it'll get approved. And that's traditionally been the process of approvals in Nevada. I don't see that lessening, but the board has needed some manpower in order to process these kind of applications, and this legislature has been responsive at providing that.
I didn't see the Wall Street Journal article yesterday. These are handheld gaming devices?
Right, kind of like a BlackBerry or something of that nature that will allow the patron in certain areas or certain public areas of the casino, not on the casino floor, not in hotel rooms, perhaps around the pool aprons or in a ballroom or a convention center, to essentially engage in a gaming activity on a palm-type device. they'll be subject, obviously, to state supervision. It'll be used only in locations that are more sophisticated, those that have more than 100 slot machines or a table game. But it's an evolutionary development, and that's the kind of technology you're seeing come to the field in Nevada. Nevada has always been the gaming capital and needs to continue to be the gaming capital. And as I indicated earlier, the legislature's been very responsive at meeting the board's manpower needs to approve this kind of technology.
Quickly, shift gears to the neighborhood casinos issue. That's become a real hot topic in some neighborhoods in both northern Nevada and southern Nevada. What's the legislature going to do? What should be done to deal with the conflicts between neighborhood casinos and neighborhoods?
Well, as you know, in 1997, this legislature processed SB 208, which created...
The building filled up with neighborhood people.
Well, it created a system where there's some certainty as to where gaming is going to be located in southern Nevada. So right now there's only 4 or 5 locations that are still in the developmental stages in southern Nevada. There's a further amendment requested this year that would further restrict that or limit that to master planned communities, which I believe is good public policy. In northern Nevada, the situation is somewhat different. We've had a lot of discussion with not only the governmental leaders up there, but association members in terms of an appropriate approach. We have processed a piece of legislation that, at least in northern Nevada, would restrict the ability to transfer some of these licenses, which, as you know, is very, very controversial over the last year or so, out into residential and neighborhood areas.
How do you define that?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, is what constitutes a neighborhood casino, because you look at southern Nevada and you have major casinos that are operated off of the 215 at perhaps a major intersection, but may to some extent interface with a neighborhood, and there has been some controversy about that. Now, I, as a resident of southern Nevada, live very close to the Green Valley Ranch Casino, which to me is a great opportunity because of all the amenities they offer. It's a beautiful property. They have movie theaters. They have a lot of restaurant outlets and things of that nature. And I walk over and can have a meal and go to a show. To me, that's a plus. And I think other people in southern Nevada see the same sort of thing.
Southern Nevada's gaming institutions are doing very, very well. They're growing. They're strong. Is the NRA concerned about some of the northern Nevada casinos and their economic future, their strength, their weakness?
We are indeed, and as you know, we represent a number of the casinos up in northern Nevada, up in the Reno Lake Tahoe area, and the markets are different between the two areas. The Strip clearly is the major engine that's pulling gaming along in this state. The competition is fierce up in northern Nevada with the development of tribal casinos in California, in Oregon and Washington. Obviously, we are concerned about the economic.
Well, you talked about tiering the taxes before, and that's not going to happen. What specific steps can be taken to strengthen the casinos that are up here?
Well, one of the things we've been involved in over the years, and we really haven't talked about it much, is we've been very involved in highway appropriations. As you know, there's a legislation pending in the federal Congress now for the Highway Reauthorization Act, and we've been involved in the past and are involved in this session in trying to secure funds for the improvement of Interstate 80. That's northern Nevada's lifeline, not only for commerce, but also for the casino business to help that road. I don't know if you've driven the road lately, but it's a tough road to navigate, especially during the winter. We were able to secure some funding for reader boards to warn motorists about storm activity on the summit. You've traveled, as I have, the Donner Summit, and that kind of information is helpful, but the road does need quite a bit of maintenance. It needs some expansion, it needs some truck climbing lines. It needs to be realigned through Colfax to expedite travel up to northern Nevada. And we've been involved in those kind of activities to help do the same thing you suggest needs to be done to protect the gaming economy in northern Nevada.
We thank you for being here. We have like 300 more questions.
And I have at least 350 answers.
And you have
we don't doubt that one bit.
Well, let's talk about this very, very quickly here. You've got a brochure that you put together.
Sam, we publish on a biennial basis a booklet, and this book is called The Facts About Gaming in Nevada. It talks about gaming's role in the Nevada economy, from employment to taxation, and a variety of information. I don't know if any of your viewers have an interest interest in receiving this publication, I think it'd be helpful if you maybe flash your email on the screen.
You know what? They can send me an email at newsmakers@kvbc.com or newsmakers@krnv.com, and I'll be happy to pass that
That's great, and then
information
we'll
back
try and
to
get a copy in the mail to the requester. Because
can I request you to come back very soon?
I don't know about very soon. It's difficult for me to get on the show, as you know, because I do live in southern Nevada, and
we got the satellite.
This is a very early hour.
We got this satellite thing. We'll work it out for you. You can go to KBBC and do it from there.
I always enjoy appearing on your show, and appreciate seeing Scott again. We go back a number of years to the Bryan administration.
When you used to stop me from getting my budget approved.
Well, we're going to let them chat. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, our Power Pundit panel today. Peter Krueger here with the Nevada Petroleum Marketers. We also have Michael Hackett here with Alrus Consulting, and Bill Uffelman with the Nevada Bankers Association. Yesterday on the program, State Senator Mike McGinnis was saying he was hoping to be able to get rid of the branch fees that were put on in the last legislative session. Would that be enough for the banking industry?
Well, it's certainly a start. Getting a $3 million a year tax reduction back towards normalcy is a lot better than the current situation, and the banks would be most appreciative of that.
So bottom line, what's happening to the business at the banks that would require, or at least would justify, rolling those back? Have you lost depositors? Have you lost activity on any level?
No, I don't think it'd be inappropriate to say that we've lost activity, but it hasn't had. It doesn't affect the depositors coming to the bank, but what it does impact is a bank considers, should we open a new branch, should we expand into this market. That $7,000 per year fee is a barrier to entry, or at least it's a threshold that you have to step over. And I'm not aware of any other business in the state that first has to put $7,000 down and then gets to go get its permits and go through all the other expenses related to it. You got to remember that the banks pay at the state level, as state chartered banks, they pay fees to the Department of Financial Institutions for every branch, every ATM, everything related to the bank, and they do the same kind of thing at the federal level. So it's not as if the state isn't already getting money from the banks in addition to the branch tax and the 2% payroll tax.
And I have to play this devil's advocate, because even though I'm not necessarily in agreement with the taxes that were raised on the industry, but banks are just sprouting everywhere in Las Vegas and Reno, certainly, and record profits are being reported constantly.
Record profits for some banks, and other banks are getting by. It's certainly a function of filling a niche. It's a function of how do you market the bank? What is the bank's plan? You got to remember that this past year there was at least one bank that didn't open. They weren't able to raise the capital to open, and that says that at least their plan, their business plan, was perceived by investors as not being a sound business plan. So, yes, there are banks that are doing very well, and there are other banks that aren't doing as well. So
I think we need to keep in mind this has a chilling effect on other branch operations. It's not just banks. I mean, this sets a terrible precedent, and this has been the concern of other industries, that having a branch fee or tax in place makes it very easy for this body, the legislators, to look at other, could be the McDonald's franchise and branch operations, it could be gas stations. It's just a bad law.
I was going to say, even gaming lobbyists who have been on the program have also said that they would like to see these kind of industry-specific taxes go away.
Absolutely.
Which frankly has been a chronic problem in Nevada. The insurance industry is still paying probably the biggest single industry tax that was ever hit with any industry, and they just never go away. The problem is that it never levels out. We're doing one industry here, and you massacre somebody, and they live with it for a very long time. It's very hard to get around it.
I came here a year ago, and my assessment, sat back, watched, and now of course been actively engaged in this session. All of the taxes that are levied on business, from gaming, mining, everybody, at some point all of business needs to sit down as a group and say, what ought at least from the perception of the business community, what ought the tax policy of this state, what should it be, and how should that be divided up so that you could come to the legislature and come to the governor with a united front. How soon will that happen? Well, I'm going to retire in 7 or 8 years.
Michael, you want to weigh in on this?
Well, actually, I had a couple of points. What Scott and Peter brought up in terms of these, these industry-specific taxes, I think those are bad business, and I think this legislature, by their actions in trying to go back and reassess the payroll tax that was assessed specifically on the banking industry, is a good step in trying to remedy that a little bit. What Bill was talking about, though, in terms of sitting down with the business community and addressing an overall tax structure, I believe they tried to do that last session with the gross receipts tax and implement something that was very broad-based. And look what happened. Every industry comes forward and says, well, we should be exempted from this, we should be exempted from that because of this, that, and the other thing. So I think in theory it sounds great, but the realities of working it out, I think, are considerably
And I would
difficult.
summarize that by saying, on some level, business has made it a bit of a Russian roulette, because as they try and exempt themselves, eventually it comes around to your number. And unfortunately, that's what's happened. And I agree with what you said, Bill. You need to step back and do a comprehensive plan among general businesses.
The state this year is going to have, what, a $6 billion budget. That's a lot of money for a state the size of Nevada. Divide that up over the number of people in the state of Nevada.
Peter, I want to change subjects here. Price of gas. When does it get to the point where it starts to affect our tourism industry? Because obviously a majority of business in southern and northern Nevada is drive-in.
Absolutely. Fortunately, we've come off some of the highs of the 250, 254, even some premium grades closer to almost 289. I noticed this morning we're down 219 in some of the lower places. I think the tourist, especially coming out of the California area where we draw most of our tourists, have a price in their mind that, and I'm going to say $3, high to $2.90, begins to make people reconsider. They may reconsider a purchase of a vehicle way before they'll cancel their trip. But I think if we get to a point of sustained $3 a gallon gas, which I don't believe is going to happen, we do impact our tourist economy.
And guys, I'm sorry, we're out of time. That's where we're going to leave it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, water resources come from fresh, clean groundwater, approved by state permits. The water is pumped from wells to million-gallon storage tanks and then distributed to TRI companies. Another amenity is our investment in a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This disposal system converts waste to clean water for industrial applications. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevada.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
A major lineup for next week. Scott, who's on the rundown?
Well, we've got Governor Kenny Gwynn, we've got Heidi Gansert, and Bob Seale, all three next week.
And plus many more guests. We'll see you next week on Nevada Newsmakers. Thanks for watching.